So the way we started was that, like, Andrew and I spent a lot of time, watching movies together, and we have very similar taste in movies and music and so on. But we love genre films, and we thought that like it was just a perfect opportunity to like explore something that we're happy to do, familiar with, and just have a fantastic time with it. But yeah, I think that the main thing is that we have always worked really well together, and we've spent a lot of time in each other's pockets and enjoying the same sort of things. So I've always enjoyed the way that like Andrew shoots his movies. He's very precise, and it would take quite a long time just to get really small details right, but I could see how that translated to the screen, and it made it so much better. And I think for Andrew, going from 35mm to digital was a learning process for him as well, because he knew that he could, look into the monitor itself and see exactly what we would see on the screen. So he could really, have a look at that and do small tweaks and move lights and know exactly what it looked like. So it gave him a lot of scope to, change small details, which made the movie even better. Well, we did make the apartment look quite creepy, using, false walls and burnt out electrical wires and things like that. I think, Jazz and Andrew were very generous in their lending of their place. And it was great to have a place that we can control the environment so well. And it was great because like we could shoot something, but just around the corner we've got our little craft table set up, and we can just sit and chill and enjoy a really cozy atmosphere and enjoy each other's company at the same time, because like we shot this over a year, so it was a long process over weekends, of course, but there was a huge sense of community about it, which what I really appreciated. Whereas one moment I'm a co-star where I, in role and getting into character, but the next minute I'm, on the boom clapping, with the clapperboard and taking the trash out or doing catering or whatever it needed. I remember one time we decided to get the drone out, and this is back at the apartment. And it was, we were just trying to do this exterior, establishing shot of the apartment building itself, and we started doing this nice crane up to see the thing, and then all of a sudden we had this huge gust of wind, and all of a sudden the drone started taking off, and I got to the point where like it's like about 200, 300 meters out of sight. And I couldn't see it, but I could see it on the GPS on the remote. So I had to sort of figure out where the closest sort of open land space was. I navigated it to that spot blindly. And we had to sort of sprint for like 750 meters, like looking down the screen, trying to figure out where this drone is, and finally finding it on North Sydney Oval and just landing, and thankfully it was safe. But yeah, it can be, shooting independently can certainly have its challenges, and we certainly had our share of those. Well, I think what I liked most about it was this sense of community, and there wasn't any stars in the picture. There wasn't any, lowly crew in the picture. Everybody seemed like they've got this equal sort of footing, and I really appreciated that. I remember hearing a story once about like quite a famous Hollywood actor who would, go to his trailer after a take, whereas this Australian, quite a famous Australian actor would grab a shot bag and go, where to now, fellas, when they do the next setup. And I really appreciated, that can-do attitude, and that was something that I saw on our set as well, is that, after we've done a take, we just grab a piece of equipment and go for it, and go to the next place, set up the next shot. So there was a sense of pride and a sense of ownership that every single person had in that production. It was the quintessential skeleton crew. We had probably, at most, we had maybe 6 people behind the camera, during our biggest sort of scenes, but more often than not, it might have been as few as two people, one on the camera and one person on, half of it on the boom and half sort of gripping and doing everything else. So it was arduous at times, but it is satisfying because, like I said, you've got that ownership, you've got that sort of sense of community that worked really, really well. And I think that everybody was comfortable coming into work. And even though it was like a bunch of Saturdays and Sundays, I really look forward to coming in and, seeing what we could create next. So speaking of knives, we had a scene where Kasha's character was getting stabbed by these phantom knives. And we did a fantastic shot where the knife would plunge into this thigh. But if you rolled the camera back a little bit further, you'd see that it was like this perfect sort of roll of pork sitting on the ground, and with cameras all over it. And it was just funny to see this thing that would substitute for human flesh. But
old school.
Yeah, it was old school. Like it was it was the perfect size, and we had to sort of like put a bit of makeup on the pork just to get the the skin tones right.
And it was her idea.
Yeah, and it was a fantastic idea, and just going back to that community, like it was a lot of people
Can you say it was Cassia's idea?
Yeah.
Yeah, and go.
And that was Kasha's idea, whereas, she thought this would be a great way of, selling that. And that brings me back to that sense of community and ownership in the film itself, where Andrew would let people come up with all sorts of ideas to help us create the film. So it was like a really good collaborative process. And I think she'd appreciate that, Andrew was open to all sorts of suggestions from anyone that was like interested in film.